It's Tuesday, April 14th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. The Prime Minister parks the federal gas tax until Labor Day. Police are investigating the targeted killing of a man in Amherst.
Conditions turning damp and cooler tonight. More showers ahead in the coming days.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. A liter of gasoline will drop by 10 cents next week, regardless what the market brings. Just hours after securing a majority government, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced he's suspending a portion of the federal excise gas tax until September to tackle rising costs. CTV's Hafsa Arf reports.
At gas stations, Maritimers are watching every dollar. With prices climbing in recent weeks, even a small break is getting attention.
That's why I got $15 today. Usually I kill it.
Starting Monday, Ottawa will suspend the federal fuel tax, cutting about 10 cents per litre off regular gas and 4 cents off diesel until early September.
Well, I don't like paying it because when you pay that much for your fuel, you're taking from something else, either groceries or another bill of some sort.
The move comes as global oil markets remain unstable, tied to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. For industries that rely heavily on fuel, the change offers some breathing room.
This could be particularly impactful for some of our members who are small and mid-sized carriers who operate on very thin margins, helps with cash flow, and helps companies just manage the ongoing volatility in fuel pricing.
But when it comes to grocery prices, experts aren't expecting dramatic changes.
Transportation is a relatively small component of most food items in the grocery store.
While cheaper fuel may help households overall, much of the cost tied to food transportation happens outside of Canada.
Many of these freight charges are happening outside of Canada. So if a truck is coming up from the southern U.S., it's paying for U.S. fuel for almost that entire trip.
There's also a provincial fuel tax that varies across provinces, ranging from 9 to 27 cents per litre. The Nova Scotia government says it doesn't plan to cut it, pointing instead to other programs it has introduced. Now, Todd, of course, this is still welcome news to Canadians. However, there are still questions around, what that spike could look like come fall when that tax returns. Todd?
All right, CTV's Hafsa Arf at the gas station in Halifax right now. Thank you. Okay, CTV web poll now. We're asking, should the government permanently suspend the federal fuel excise tax? And your options are yes, Canadians need a break on gas prices, or no, the money is needed for social programs. And could we see more of this kind of thing from a Carney majority government? We'll speak with politics professor Alex Marlin later, and there's more on the tax break, and you can vote at on the poll at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Police in Amherst are investigating what they're calling a targeted killing of a man in that community last night. CTV's Derek Haggett has the latest.
Amherst police say a man was walking on Prince Arthur Street early last night when a dark-colored SUV pulled up behind him.
The victim turned and looked and saw and started to run. An occupant of the vehicle got out, had what appeared to be a long gun, and shot the victim. The victim fell and the car fled from the scene.
Police have identified the victim as 41-year-old Christopher Leggett of Amherst. He was shot once in the lower back and later pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The suspects are still at large, but police don't believe there is any threat to the public.
This was very clearly a targeted incident where people knew each other. The victim knew his attackers and vice versa.
The shooting happened outside a homeless shelter, but its administration says staff and those staying there were not involved in the incident.
Scary. Very scary.
I heard gunshots, 2 gunshots, and you could hear the car speed off like something bad happened.
The use of the Alert Ready system was considered, but police say the incident did not meet the criteria at the time.
Scary, not even safe to really walk anymore, or even take kids out. You don't know what's going to happen.
Members of the RCMP's forensic team and officers from Truro assisted Amherst Police and its major crime unit today. As of late this afternoon, no arrests had been made. Amherst Police Chief Dwayne Pike says this is a small town where everybody knows everybody, and shootings like this are not common at all. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Amherst, Nova Scotia.
2 teenage hockey players were arraigned in a Nova Scotia courtroom today on sexual assault charges related to a hazing investigation in the Truro area. CTV's Callum Smith brings us the latest.
A 15-year-old heads into court to formally hear a judge read the criminal charges against him and another 15-year-old.
These are very serious charges, and the Public Prosecution Service is taking this case, as we do all cases of sexual violence, seriously.
The teens each face 2 counts of sexual assault and 1 count of sexual assault with a weapon from what police describe as a hazing incident last October. RCMP said a teenager came forward January 30th and reported being assaulted during a private team gathering last fall. They said the team is from the Truro area. There are 3 alleged victims. One of the accused also faces a single charge of common assault between October and December. Identities of the accused and the alleged victims are protected under a publication ban. Initially, 4 teens were arrested, but only 2 were charged separately until yesterday, when a replacement information or updated charges were laid, charging the boys together.
With both young persons charged together, there's a presumption that there'll be a joint trial if the matter is scheduled for trial, as opposed to 2 separate trials. So it makes the process more efficient and has the potential to reduce delays in the case.
The Crown says this way complainants would only have to testify once. Previous court documents identified the weapon as a mini hockey stick. One of the teens was originally accused of assault with a weapon as well, identified as urine, but all of those details have been removed from the updated documents.
Now that the matter is before the court, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on the specifics of the case and any evidence.
In late February, RCMP said investigators believe there are additional victims. No pleas were entered today, and the case was adjourned until May 25th. Callum Smith, CTV News, Truro.
Let's a look at St. John right now. A clear evening, 11 degrees at 6 minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell for a first look at the forecast. I know you're going to touch on some precipitation there, but boy, it was a sunny day and some nice temperatures.
Yeah, it's certainly mild to warm where the sun broke through for parts of the Maritimes. Today, as is often the case for this time of the year, not everybody got up into those temperatures and made it up towards the mid to high teens, or even a few 20-degree temperatures reported around the south shore of Nova Scotia. But overall, on average around the Maritimes, temperatures were seasonable or above today. Taking a look at some rainfall reports. This is from Monday into Tuesday. You can see the latest weather system that crossed the Maritimes brought in a general rainfall of around 5 to 15 millimeters. It's kind of a light to moderate rain by our April standards. So there were a few areas where the rainfall amounts were a little bit lower, parts of the southeast New Brunswick, parts of the north and north shore of Nova Scotia, and a few spots where the rainfall amounts were a little bit higher, including in Cape Breton. Middle River reported some rainfall amounts of around 19 millimeters, at least from an observer there. We have some more wet weather that's going to be on its way in for tonight. Another round of rain and showers on its way in. Cloud covers increasing from the west of us, and that's running out ahead of a low-pressure system that's making its way out of southern Ontario and into the northeastern United States. You can see the wet weather, though, highlighted here on radar in through the green, is tracking towards the east and pretty much directly towards the Maritime region. So how much rain are we going to pick up as we move through tonight and into Wednesday morning? Once again, in a lot of cases, it'll be a few to several millimeters of rain, especially in northern areas of New Brunswick and parts of the west of Nova Scotia. But there may be some pockets as high as 10 to 20 millimeters, and the highest chance of that is going to be through parts of the Maritimes highlighted here in through the greens. So that would include central and parts of the south of New Brunswick, maybe Prince Edward Island, and areas of the north and east of Nova Scotia. We'll talk more about this weather system and how we're doing so far for the month of April when it comes to average rainfall amounts in the region. A lot of areas, Todd, on track to be at or above average. A few areas, though, still falling a little bit short.
Oh, okay. I'll be interested to see those. We will do that a little later in the show. Thank you. Islanders are facing the largest deficit in PEI history. The new budget tabled today puts the province $410 million in the red. There are cuts, but also new money for healthcare and education. We get the details now from CTV's Maria Saru in Charlottetown. Maria.
Todd, the shortfall in this budget is just under $410 million. It's a number Finance Minister Jill Burridge says reflects the pressures the province is facing and what she calls deliberate choices to support islanders.
Mr. Speaker, these pressures did not emerge overnight and will not be resolved overnight.
Affordability is a key priority, and the province is introducing a new Island Essentials benefit to help with costs like groceries, gas, and utilities. It'll provide up to $310 for singles and $365 for couples. Another big change, there's a new tax bracket for people earning more than $200,000 a year, which the province says will bring in additional revenue. The budget does include some cuts, including to PEI's energy rebate, which gives households 10% back on the first block of residential electricity. Opposition parties in the chamber behind me raised concerns about the province's worsening fiscal picture and cuts to climate-related programs. To that, the government says it's catching up after years of underinvestment. Back to you, Todd.
All right, thank you, Maria, and Province House in Charlottetown for us this evening. As of today, the price of electricity is more expensive in New Brunswick. Power rates went up nearly 4.3%. The Energy Board settled on that amount after considering a bigger hike NB Power had applied for. CTV's Nick Moore reports.
The Energy and Utilities Board approved NB Power's application requesting a 4.75% rate increase earlier in the month, but also asked the utility for adjustments on revenue requirements before setting a final rate. The EUB's final decision, a rate increase of 4.29%, takes effect today.
People are going to have to make some really difficult choices yet again.
Nicola Taylor is the chairperson for New Brunswick Acorn and says now that the exact rate increase is final, the group will switch its advocacy to the provincial government and NB Power itself.
NB Acorn are calling for a rebate program to help people who are on low and moderate incomes. We have to make people's voices heard who often think their voices are not heard. So we have to keep going and we have to keep campaigning.
In Nova Scotia, Acorn held a protest in Halifax today about power rates which could rise as well. Demonstrators pinned power bills on a clothesline and are demanding the provincial government implement policies such as debt forgiveness for utility users who are behind on payments.
Any rate hike that comes into being affects our members financially and additional hardships, like they're making too many sacrifices today between groceries and rent, medications, whatever.
Back in New Brunswick, NB Power says the utility needed a rate increase in part to address unexpected shutdown costs at the Point Lepreau nuclear generating station. As of Friday, NB Power says Point Lepreau will be shut down until early August for a planned maintenance outage. In a statement, NB Power says the outage will last a total of 119 days, with part of the work related to the potential future for isotope production at the station. We asked the utility today for budgeted costs associated with the outage, but did not receive an answer by news time. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Long-term care home workers are walking the picket line again today in Nova Scotia. More than 2,000 are striking for better wages. But as CTV's Jonathan McGuinness tells us, a clause in other healthcare contracts could be a roadblock to getting a deal.
Voices remain strong on day 2 of a strike by long-term care home workers across Nova Scotia.
I think we just want to be paid our worth. We're the lowest paid healthcare workers in Atlantic Canada. We're the second lowest paid in all of Canada.
The government's offer is identical to what other healthcare workers have signed. It includes a wage increase between 12 and 24% and a 70% increase in shift premium. Not enough, according to continuing care worker Dawn Vardy.
The offer that was presented to us was an offer that was made back in 2023. So the cost of living since 2023 to now has drastically increased. So even by accepting this offer, we're still not going to be making a fair living wage.
Another consideration in the talks is a Me Too clause other healthcare workers have in their contracts.
Acute care and long-term care are sort of out of cycle in terms of when they negotiate their agreements. There is a clause called the Me Too clause, which means for 2 of those years that are in the same cycle, there would be a comparative elevation for those 2 years.
In other words, acute care workers are entitled to any contractual gains made by continuing care employees. With the province in a deficit and slashing grants and programs, that clause could be seen as a major hurdle. The union says they're not budging.
We'll stay on the lines as long as needed, but at the end of the day,
I'd hope the government would come back with a competitive wage deal for our long-term sector.
2,200 workers from 24 care homes are on strike. CUPE represents staff in 52 facilities. They say more could be joining the picket line in the coming days. Todd, the offer that's on the table from the province is a 4-year deal, retroactive to 2023, which means that contract would expire next year. Potentially, these workers could be back out here on the picket line. Todd.
Okay, John McGuinness on a rather boisterous picket line in Halifax. Thank you. Cape Breton regional councillors raised questions today about the sale of a piece of land off Sydney Harbour they believe happened without their knowledge. The land in question is a piece of wharf property in Sydport, the industrial park. Councillor Erlene McMullen said she found out recently it had been sold in late March to a company now owned by controversial port development promoter Albert Barbusi. Mayor Cecil Clark was asked for his response to a number of councillors who spoke out today, saying they too felt they were in the dark about this.
That's a question for the CAO. The transactions themselves are the responsibility of the CAO and senior management. From a legislative point of view, there are agreements that are put in place. We deal with hundreds of documents that come through the mayor's office that council would have dealt with in the past. This is no different in terms of a transaction. It was a legal option that was triggered with regards to a purchase option. And again, that falls back to administration.
There's no word on the purchase price. McMullen and other councillors insist they should have known about the sale before the municipal budget was approved on March 26.
Get the Maritimes top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Women's health advocates argue Nova Scotia's system is under tremendous pressure, from surgical backlogs to access to timely care. They argue the province needs a dedicated health plan for women. CTV's Jesse Thomas reports.
Kim White spoke at a legislative health committee, sharing her breast cancer story and her struggles to access timely care and the surgery she needed, which White said was originally denied because of her body size.
We as women have to stand up. We have to tell them we're sick and tired. We're literally sick and tired. Physically, emotionally, mentally.
White said she was exhausted after fighting her cancer and for the care she says she deserved. She, like others on this panel, including the president of the IWK Foundation, believe that a women's health care strategy is long overdue.
A strategy is like a map. You're in a car. You need a map to know where you're going, or a GPS nowadays, to know where you're going from A to B.
Gillivan thinks the strategy would save taxpayer money with implementing a targeted plan.
We would see a reduction in spending in healthcare. I think women would suffer less and would go earlier and be diagnosed earlier, and preventative health. All of that would really help.
Dr. James Bentley is the head of obstetrics and gynecology at the IWK and says wait times and backlogs for procedures is putting immense pressure on the system and harming patients.
I fully accept that is not satisfactory, and the surgeons will be the first to tell you that they are operating on people with worse prolapse because the waits are long, and that is a real significant issue.
An official with the IWK suggested the federal government is going to lead a women's health strategy, which they expect to hear more about soon. But in the meantime, official opposition leader Claudia Chender says the province should start their own now.
I think what we heard today is it's great that it's coming federally. Women in this province, in this region, are underserved, and that needs to change now.
The province's health minister isn't ruling out a health strategy down the road, but for now says they're focused on investing in and fixing the healthcare system. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
When the snow melts, trash is often left behind. More troubling, in parks and on beaches, needles are lying around. Today, a councillor in Cape Breton put forth a motion to do something about it. CTV's Ryan McDonald now with his plan.
It's not that uncommon for needles and sharps to be found in places they don't belong.
It's a huge problem, not just in my community where you will find some hot spots where people are recreationally using.
Today, CBRM councillor Stephen McNeil put forth a motion asking the Nova Scotia government to mandate an extended producer responsibility, or ERP, program for sharps, which are also turning up at municipal landfills and at recycling depots.
For our solid waste staff, they may grab a garbage bag off the curb and accidentally prick themselves in the leg.
We collect more sharps per capita than provinces that have a regulated program.
The head of the Pharmacy Association of Nova Scotia says the voluntary sharps disposal program that has been in place for a quarter century now has been working well, adding it has nearly 100% participation from pharmacies and manufacturers. She says improvements could be made when it comes to how sharps are collected elsewhere and public messaging about safe disposal.
These behavioral changes are another piece that has to be considered. Just mandating regulation tomorrow will not change patient behavior in how those or other providers or how other organizations are disposing of those sharps.
Still, the motion today was approved by CBRM Council, with the next step expected to be an ask to the Department of Environment and Climate Change to mandate an EPR program and ensure adequate funding.
We've done EPR for plastic, papers, recycling products, and here we are with something even more serious and we're not doing it. So I'm really hopeful the province hears us.
The Pharmacy Association of Nova Scotia said it would like to see lessons learned from the existing program here and other provinces that have taken a regulatory approach considered when coming up with solutions. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
We'll take a break now. When we return, another round of rain and showers moves in tonight. Caitlin will have all the details. But first, encouraging news for Prince Edward Islanders waiting for a doctor.
We have one of the widest and biggest scopes of practice in the country, so it's really exciting. There's a lot that we can do to help support our system.
The Island Health Authority has hired a new class of nurse practitioners to ease the burden. Details after this. For the tens of thousands of Prince Edward Islanders waiting for a primary care provider, there is a sign of relief. The province has hired a new class of nurse practitioners to help ease pressure on the system. Again, here's CTV's Maria Saru.
3, 2, 1.
New nurse practitioners, all smiles for the camera, but the work ahead is serious. For Chantal Smith, the path started after she saw too many Islanders without a bridge to primary care while working in community mental health.
I noticed the gap in service that so many Islanders had.
Ashton Martin saw the same strain working as a registered nurse in other provinces.
What that translated into was full emergency rooms, oftentimes, both in rural settings and in larger cities. And when I saw that, I kind of sat back and thought to myself, what can we do to try to improve things?
Right now, nearly 33,900 people are on PEI's patient registry waiting for a family doctor or nurse practitioner.
I'm just going to check your lungs, okay?
What NPs can do varies from province to province, but on the island they can take on their own patient panels, diagnose and treat illnesses, write prescriptions, order imaging, provide referrals, and much more.
We have one of the widest and biggest scopes of practice in the country, so it's really exciting. There's a lot that we can do to help support our system.
Laura Smith says she and new hires will help increase access.
I feel like we'll be able to panel patients, pull them off the registry, and decrease wait times in emergency rooms.
And the health minister says they do more than plug gaps.
It's a team effort. Everyone works together. Our family doctors are very important. They can't be replaced. All of our healthcare providers have a role to play.
The new nurse practitioners will graduate and start work later this spring. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Still to come on your newscast tonight, cloudy with patchy drizzle tomorrow. Kaylin has the full weather forecast. Good boys. He'll have that next. Here's another one of these beautiful coastal web cameras that we have access to. This is Sambro, not far from Halifax. Beautiful evening. Sun still has a little while before it touches the water, 8 degrees.
Wow, that is nice, isn't it? Look at that streak of sunshine there running across the water, and a little bit of sort of like thin, high cloud cover there in the background. Of course, the cloud cover is going to be getting lower tonight as we have that next weather system on its way in, which is going to be bringing us some more rain.
So, yes, on that, I was, you kind of caught me off guard there because I'm surprised to hear that there's anywhere in the region that has not had significant rainfall so far in April. But you're going to tell us that's, in fact, the case.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly hasn't been a dry weather pattern in April so far, but a number of these weather systems, that have come into the Maritimes for some parts of the region, the precipitation with them is kind of on the lighter side. So as we take a look at where we stand with April so far around the Maritimes, we're making very good progress, of course, through much of the province of New Brunswick, as well as Prince Edward Island. You can see we're just approaching the halfway part of the month now, and we're already sitting at, for that part of the Maritimes, 50% or higher of the 30-year average. Nova Scotia, though, a little bit lower.
Yeah, look how low that is. I'm surprised it's that low in Cape Breton.
Because,
Ryan McDonald was on. Now, maybe that was in March. Yeah. It seemed like he was on at least once a week telling us how much snow they were getting.
Yeah, and of course, well, once that snow melts down, in some cases only melts down to some rainfall amounts of around 5 to 10 millimeters or so. But you can see Nova Scotia right now is only sitting between around 25 and 50%. Now, like I mentioned, we're only up to the halfway point of April, so we still have plenty of time to continue to pick up some rainfall amounts in the region. And in fact, over the next several days, we basically have a weather system coming in every day or so. So plenty to talk about when it comes to April rain and showers in the forecast, including, of course, for tonight. So as I mentioned, cloud cover increasing around the Maritimes. The rain coming first into the province of New Brunswick. It'll become widespread by the mid to late evening hours. And then by around midnight, that rain progressing into Prince Edward Island, northern western areas of Nova Scotia. It's a pretty fast moving weather system though. So the bulk of the rain will be clearing New Brunswick very early Wednesday morning. And in the process of clearing east to Prince Edward Island and east of Nova Scotia at the start of the day for tomorrow. Now, in behind it, there's going to be some lingering cloud cover, and throughout the day, some patchy drizzle, and in some cases, maybe even a few showers. The chance of showers will be highest around Prince Edward Island, as well as eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including parts of the North Shore, the eastern shore of the mainland, and of course, in Cape Breton. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow will be variable throughout the day as that low pressure system first approaches and then moves past. But by the afternoon, the winds will be mostly out of the northeast for the province of New Brunswick, out of the east for Prince Edward Island and eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and then northeast into western areas of Nova Scotia. The winds tomorrow mostly sustained between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. Every once in a while, there could be a couple of gusts getting up between 30 and 40. Rainfall amounts of that weather system, we talked about that earlier, but in general, a good portion of the Maritimes can expect a few to several millimeters of rain, but some pockets of 10 to 20 millimeters possible, especially through central parts of New Brunswick, maybe Prince Edward Island, and parts of the north and east of Nova Scotia. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for a good portion of the Maritimes will fall into a range of around 2 to 7 degrees, but some low temperatures will approach the freezing mark up in the north of New Brunswick. There is a low risk of a brief period of very light, patchy freezing rain as we move into the overnight for that part of the Maritimes. Not expecting it to accumulate significantly, though, but there is that risk with those temperatures there getting a little bit colder. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the northeast of New Brunswick do remain on the cooler side. Most communities around 4 degrees. In the northwest, though, temperatures come up mostly between 7 and 10, including 10 at Perth Andover. 8 for Heartland for tomorrow, 9 for Fredericton, 10 for St. John, 7 degrees for Moncton, the southeast of New Brunswick. For Prince Edward Island tomorrow, the high temperatures mostly between 5 and 8 degrees, including 8 at Tignish and Cavendish, 7 at Charlottetown and Montague, and then 5 at Surrey. In Cape Breton, high temperatures between 5 and 7 degrees. On the north shore of Nova Scotia, the high temperatures between 6 and 9. And on the eastern shore, the high temperatures mostly between 5 and 7. It's 7 for the city centers Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow, 9 for Truro and Parsborough, 7 at Amherst. In the Annapolis Valley, many communities with high temperatures near 10 degrees. On the south shore of Nova Scotia, it's 9 for Liverpool and Shelburne. A little bit milder, though, for Yarmouth, expected to be closer to 13. Now, we do have another weather system coming up at the very end of this week. Another quick-moving low, a couple weather fronts with it, but once again, return some showers to the region on Thursday. The potential for some showers to hold over for parts of the Maritimes on Friday. So in the 7-day forecast, there's the showers on Thursday for New Brunswick, and then followed by a chance of showers on Friday. The start of the weekend, though, with a mix of sun and cloud. And then our next system arriving late Sunday into Monday, and that one will pack some rain and some showers with it, back to a mix of sun and cloud on Tuesday of next week. And for Nova Scotia in the forecast, showers expected on Thursday. Some lingering showers, especially for western parts of the province on Friday. A mix of sun and cloud to start the weekend. Rain arriving late in the day on Sunday, finishing as a chance of showers on Monday, and then a mix of sun and cloud on Tuesday of next week. Temperatures over the next several days, mostly seasonable, at times slightly above. Prince Edward Island in the forecast. Showers expected on both Thursday and Friday. The mix of sun and cloud on Saturday. After that, the next system arrives late Sunday into Monday, bringing some rain and some showers with it. That's followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday of next week. Todd.
You said a very slight chance of freezing rain, right?
Yeah, up in the north of New Brunswick. And if there is any, it should be very light, very patchy, not expecting it to cause much in the way of issues.
Have you taken the winter tires off?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the sign.
Okay,
we will see you later in the show. And after the break, Alex Marlin, he'll be here to give us his take on what a majority government could mean for the country. Stay with us.
All right, everybody knows gas is wild, and we want to give you a chance to win a $100 gas card tomorrow around 7:30.
Also, tune in to find out how you could win $1,000 cash with us.
Welcome back on this Tuesday evening. Well, after winning all 3 federal by-elections last night, the Prime Minister wasted no time taking advantage of a solid new majority government. He announced, of course, the suspension of the federal gas tax, or a portion of it, this morning. How might the wins combine with recent floor crossings? Will it change the dynamics in Parliament? Alex Marlin, Chair in Political Trust and Leadership and Politics Professor at Acadia University, is back with us, and just in time. We appreciate you being with us tonight. The Prime Minister said today that he's not going to call a federal election. Well, a bit of a Captain Obvious moment there, perhaps, but this is what he was gunning for. Do we see perhaps fewer floor crossings now? He doesn't have to try to court anyone over.
Well, I've studied floor crossings in Canada, and I can tell you they're always unpredictable because, you know, the political landscape is constantly changing. So if I was Pierre Poilievre, I'd still be nervous. There's still the possibility that some could go, whether it's now or in the future is the question. The real thing, though, is there's not really as much of a push going to come from the Liberals. There's not this sense of anxiety because now that they've achieved a majority government, they don't feel as much of a need to be able to bring people over to the other side. If they really want to be able to do it, it's to continue to show momentum, and it's to continue to destabilize Poilievre as leader.
Yeah, isn't there always that feather in the cap aspect of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've been thinking about it. Here's one thing that is very different about these floor crossings. Everyone's talking about how it's resulted or contributed to a majority government, which is in itself unusual. But what's really unusual is usually when people leave a party, they spend a lot of time talking about how awful the leader was when they left. But in this particular case, they haven't said a lot of bad things about Poilievre. They've mostly only said positive things about Mark Carney. And so as a result, it's actually allowed Poilievre to stay in the position longer, because if they were all complaining about Poilievre a lot, then that's what we would be talking about.
Okay. Is it more attractive, though, if you're sitting on that other side of the aisle? Chris d'Entremont said last week on Power Play that he could see a lot of, you know, faces on the other side of the aisle who he thinks might want to cross over. Is it more attractive when there's a majority government sitting on the other side?
It's more attractive when you're ahead in the polls. So you could be part of a majority government and unpopular, and that wouldn't be fun. But yeah, of course, in politics, it's a competitive race, and they love to be on the winning side. So I have no doubt that they enjoy looking at their former colleagues and kind of smiling, saying that we're on the right side at the moment.
Okay. Certainly those 2 Toronto by-elections, no surprise. I mean, those are Liberal red solid ridings, but the one in Quebec, Terrebonne, in Quebec, held by the Bloc Québécois, extremely tight, went late into the evening. What does that signal, do you think, in the province of Quebec? I mean, the Bloc had a bit of a stranglehold. The PQ are doing very well provincially in the polling.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to note that in this particular case, it was held by a Liberal who won by 1 vote, but then that election election had to be nullified, and so that's what triggered the by-election. She essentially got re-elected as a Liberal in that seat. But what we have seen is, as the Liberal Party's fortunes have improved under Mark Carney, they've also improved in many provinces and with provincial Liberals, particularly in Quebec. So public opinion polls are now showing that the provincial Liberals are doing a lot better than they were before. There will be an election in Quebec this year, but one of the challenges that the provincial Liberals have in Quebec is that a lot of their support is really concentrated in Montreal, and as a result, they have a hard time forming government unless they're able to reach out into the rural areas.
Okay. What do you think we'll see of Mark Carney now that he has a majority government? Will this give him an opportunity to show more of himself, perhaps do more of what he wanted, or did we see that from the beginning?
Well, going on history of how things work when you have a majority government, both in the provinces and the federal level, I can say with relative certainty that what we're going to see is a normal pattern where difficult, controversial decisions get made early in a mandate, and as you get closer to the election, you start spending money and doing nice things and tax cuts and all this sort of thing. So if there is going to be pain, if there are going to be difficult decisions, we're going to probably see them in the next year or so, because they don't have to worry about an election being held in the next year or so, which was the case when they had a minority government. At any time, there could be an election.
So what does this mean, these losses mean for Mr. Poilievre and for Mr. Lewis, who's the new leader of the New Democrats, who really seems to be pulling the party back to the left?
Right. So I think for the NDP, this is actually a good thing, because they really need to go out. They need to have their leader going into small community halls. They need to be knocking on doors. They need to be really generating money, resources, volunteers. They need to reimagine what it is they're doing. They need to stay away from an election. So this is actually a good thing for them. As far as the Conservatives are, it's kind of a bit of a contrast, because on the one hand, Pierre Poilievre now has more runway until the next election, so he could stay in power for a long, as leader of the opposition. He could stay in that role longer and not worry about the possibility of floor crossers who are worried about losing their seat right away. On the other hand, this now gives time for MPs to mobilize within the Conservative caucus if they want to get rid of Poilievre as leader, because they don't have to worry about facing an election. So there's time to potentially get rid of Poilievre as leader and then have a leadership race before the next election. That's a hypothetical, but it is possible.
Yeah, you don't see any rumblings of that, though, do you? I mean, he had a very strong mandate at this last convention.
Right, but we also know that as public opinion polls continue to suggest that the Conservatives would not form a government right now, eventually we may see some of that occur.
All right. We'll be watching. Alex Marlin, thank you as always.
My pleasure.
Alex Marlin of Acadia University. We'll take a timeout. We'll be back after this. In our nightly look at health and medical news, the Salmonella pistachio outbreak is still ongoing 1 year after it started. CTV's Amanda Debison in the Lifeline.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says its investigation into a salmonella outbreak linked to pistachios is still active 1 year since recording the first infection. It says 26 people have been hospitalized, and the number of illnesses since March of 2025 has grown to 189. Illnesses have been reported as recently as last month. Canadians are being told not to eat pistachios imported from Iran. Illnesses have been reported in 6 provinces, including New Brunswick, as well as Ontario, Quebec, British Columbia, Alberta, and Manitoba. On the West Coast, events are planned today across British Columbia to mark 10 years since the province declared a public health emergency related to the overdose crisis. The emergency declaration came a year after the province reported 474 apparent illicit drug deaths in 2015. Overdoses have since killed more than 18,000 people. Finally, new research stateside shows that the hardest hits football players take might not be on the field, but the memory problems that come years later. A new study of nearly 4,000 former American football players found that after age 40, players had worse measures of cognition, including memory, problem solving, and planning, as well as measures of depression and emotional control compared to healthy people who didn't play the sport. The longer duration of play and the higher the level of play, the worse the outcomes. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
With Aaron and Peter. We're getting you all decked out with Kent. You can win $2,000 in brand new patio furniture and decor.
Enter once an hour at our website, move100halifax.ca.
This was another positive day for the Dow Jones, which closed the trading day up 317 points. And as we reported earlier in the newscast this evening, Ottawa is giving Canadians a break at the pumps, but it doesn't come cheap. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez explains.
The suspension of the gas tax will cost Ottawa about $2.5 billion. Canadians are paying an average of 27% more at the pump now than before the conflict with Iran. Getting rid of the excise tax will save drivers 10 cents a litre on regular gas, 4 cents on diesel. Even jet fuel will be discounted. A new survey from Stifel shows just how much rising costs are pressuring Canadians. The survey shows consumers are being more cautious and selective when they spend, especially when buying clothes or furniture. More women and lower-income households are leading the trend. Amazon's buying satellite operator Globalstar for about $11.5 billion U.S. Amazon already has a limited satellite business, but it wants to capitalize on the direct-to-device market, where smartphones connect to satellites instead of cell towers. SpaceX is already doing that. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 72.62. West Texas Intermediate is down over $7 to 91.97. Western Canadian Select is up over $2 to 75.02. And the TSX gained 223 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell, we were talking about signs of spring throughout the show, and you've got a good one tonight for us.
That's right. So let's go straight to our picture, and I have received a few pictures and a few reports over the last couple of weeks that the first of the bees are starting to be out and about. So busy as a bee here. This picture from Susan Allen was taken at Stillwater Lake. I want to thank Susan very much for taking the time to send this picture in. And Stillwater Lake for tomorrow. Well, there's a chance of a shower in the morning, and then after that, it's going to be a pretty cloudy day. Things feeling a little bit damp as well, and the high temperature will be near 7 degrees. Speaking of cloud cover, some cloud cover increasing above me right now, and that, of course, is ahead of the rain that's going to be coming through tonight. Now, by the start of the day for tomorrow, that rain will be exiting east of Nova Scotia. There will likely still be some rain around eastern parts of that province, even Prince Edward Island first thing in the morning, but it's headed off towards the east. In behind it, it'll be cloudy conditions and patchy drizzle, and in some cases, a chance of showers. The chance of showers will be highest around Prince Edward Island and the east of Nova Scotia. Temperatures won't be as mild to warm as they were today around the region. Winds will be on the breezy side. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, the state of arthritis in Canada.
We will speak with the Arthritis Society of Canada about their latest report card and look at their action plan to end the debilitating condition.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Then later at 6, being safe on the job, a call to action to ensure Maritimers go home healthy at the end of each workday. We'll speak to an expert on that topic here in your newscast. And finally for us tonight, 5 people have been appointed to the Order of Nova Scotia. This year's recipients include some well-known Blue Nosers, including former Nova Scotia Premier Darrell Dexter, philanthropist John George Fleming, community leader and former president of New Dawn Enterprises Rankin McSween, advocate Carolyn G. Thomas is among the group, and artist and songwriter Joel Plaskett of Dartmouth. The ceremony was held at Government House with Lieutenant Governor Mike Savage presenting the new members with their insignia and appointment scrolls. So congratulations.
I mean, I just feel really fortunate, and it's a privilege to be honored in this way and recognized for, you know, being in this province in the way that I've been in it, I guess. Yeah.
The award recognizes people who have made lasting contributions in their fields of expertise. 132 members have been invested into the Order of Nova Scotia since it all began 25 years ago. Congratulations to them. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco here at 11:30, and ctvnewsatlantic.ca and the app have our updates. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritimes' #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.